Hello everyone, my name is Adara Hernandez, and today we're going to talk about raising children within a multicultural home. Maya Angelou once said that it is time for parents to teach young people early on that diversity, there is beauty and there is strength. So multiculturalism is defined as a cultural pluralism or diversity within a society, organization, or educational institution. But what defines a multicultural home? Again, taking that multiculturalism and looking at the word multicultural, the definition is of or relating to, reflecting, or adapted to diverse cultures, meaning taking different aspects of these cultures and combining them as a whole within one unit. And the different aspects include language from, written language, conversational language, non-spoken interactions between cultures within a home, behaviors and manners that are taught in these homes per cultural belief, and the tradition that is upheld as well within all of these multicultural homes. When looking at the language, we find that it is ever growing, that English as a second language is becoming more common than it previously was. Looking at these statistics in 2013, there were more than 61 million homes that had another language spoken within that home. And then if you come over here to this statistic, looking even closer at Ohio specifically, it was 6.9% in children between the ages of 5 to 17 that spoke another language other than English at home with their families. With these, different languages, you have certain language effects that take place. Language development is something that occurs in a young child from the time that they learn to cry out when they're hungry or when they need changing as a baby, to learning how to speak and developing those, different language cues and how to form sentences. All of that takes place during the interactions between the children and other family members of the home, whether that be adults, siblings, grandparents. And that development can differ from culture to culture. Different languages, you have different word formation and different semantics that take place within a sentence. So the development can sometimes take a hit, per se, when these second languages are involved. Now, there are certain help services as a child grows up that are offered, such as ESL, once they hit the school system. And then there are even things that are offered for adults, such as classes in the evenings and, the prompts when you're calling in to make a payment or to check your bank balance. They have options for those other languages. So these multicultural homes, they take these languages and combine them as one. Frank Smith said that one language sets you in a corridor for life, while two languages open every door along the way. It just creates more opportunities. Different behaviors and manners are taught from culture to culture. When we look at an example of discipline from South Korea and the United States, in South Korea, they don't hire janitors necessarily for their public schools. Rather, the children and the classes that are in the school are required to help maintain that cleanliness, whether that's keeping their spaces clean or doing daily or weekly chores to help, keep their school clean. Whereas in the United States, we clearly have janitors here. And a lot of times we see that children are often they're often catered to, and the parent is more likely to act as a friend and trying to teach with love and understanding rather than a strict discipline. There are also different manners that are taught between these two countries. Again, looking at South Korea and the United States, South Korea has a very strong familial pride and respectfulness for elders and ancestors. They take pride in where they come from. And then parents are very involved in their children's lives as they get older. They often give their opinion even when it's not warranted. Whereas in the United States, yes, we're taught basic manners. Yes, we're taught basic etiquette. But ultimately it defaults back to that teaching with love and understanding, and allowing the child to develop and learn and experience their life on their own. So these different manners can be taught at the same time. Another big aspect of a multicultural home takes place within tradition. As you can see in all of these pictures included on this slide, each culture has a different sense of tradition, whether it's from the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they act. All of that is upheld within tradition. Ellen Goodman said traditions are the guideposts driven deep in our subconscious minds. The most powerful ones that we have are those that we can't even describe or aren't even aware of. But what makes tradition so important to these multicultural homes? Merriam-Webster defines tradition as an inherited, established, or customary pattern of thought, action, behavior, a belief or story, or body of beliefs or stories relating to the past that are commonly accepted, and then handing down information, beliefs, and customs by word of mouth or by example from one generation to the next. So these cultural traditions, they help to create a sense of unity within the culture and a connectedness from that previous generation to the next generation. It also helps to create a familial bond and a time to learn from one another. Speaking from my own experience, I enjoyed listening as a child to my grandparents talk about what it was like to grow up at their ancestral homes and getting to school, and eventually when my grandfather joined the war, the stories that he had from there. The different types of traditions that we typically see come in the form of holidays. This is the most common one that you'll find, from Halloween, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Dia de los Muertos, 4th of July. All of these are part of tradition. Idioms are also part of tradition. Where we say time flies, another culture might necessarily say that or have a way of saying that, and they also really wouldn't understand what it meant. Religious practice is also a type of tradition. It's something that's typically passed down from one generation to the next. And then again, that storytelling from one generation to the next generation. Cultures are combined in a home with all of these things. They come together and they merge into one home. Multiple languages being taught, the different cultural views and manners combined in the teachings, and then merging different cultural traditions. Again, in a Mexican American home, for example, in my home, we celebrate Halloween on the 31st of October as an American tradition, but the next day we do begin preparations for Dia de los Muertos to honor the side of the family that is Mexican and those ancestors that have passed on before us. We give reverence to them. So that's combining those traditions. A lot of multicultural homes, while faced with a lot of difficulties, they do have a lot of long-term benefits for a child. The multi-language opens up opportunities for better and diversified career options. They open themselves up for a well-rounded understanding of different disciplines and different manners that are required within different cultures. Ann Campanella said that one of the benefits of being bicultural is simply the awareness that how you live is not the only way to live. Growing up in these multicultural homes, again, you do face the difficulties, but it ultimately broadens a child's sense of being and understanding. They learn that they're part of a different and diversified world. They gain a knowledge that there are many different paths that they can take. Just like parenting that child, there's no right or wrong way necessarily for them to do so, for them to become the person that they want to be. there's no right or wrong person for them to be, as far as, whether they want to embrace other cultures or not. The sky is the limit, as we like to say, for what these children in these multicultural homes can learn from the different cultures, from the different languages. That was my presentation. I hope you enjoyed and you learned something new in this great world that we live in.